Guys, welcome to another World Chess Championship episode. So we have 2024 chess match starting in about less than a month time already, where Gukesh will play Yinliran, but now I'm taking you through the history because some of you have only started playing chess not long ago, so it will be interesting for you to know the history. So in the previous episode I analyzed 2013 match between Magnus Carlsen and Vishy Anand, which was held in Chennai, and Magnus won that match 6.5 to 3.5. And a year later, Anand won the candidate cycle in 2014 and was to set off against Magnus Carlsen in the basically rematch of the 2013, which was held in Sochi, Russia. And it started pretty quick, as in the second game Magnus got the lead, and let me walk you through this game. And once again, Berlin defense. Obviously, second game of the match, Vishy is playing with black pieces. Gotta be very solid place. Berlin expects this all Berlin endgame setups. Magnus goes for d3, of course. You know, he's trying to squeeze something out of anti-Berlin, so he doesn't go for main lines, which would result in boring endgames. He's going for something more, you know, somewhere where he would have more chances than an actual Berlin game. Bishop c5, castle, d6, rook e1, castle takes, h3, not letting this bishop go to g4, rook e8, knight bd2, knight d7, knight c4. So, and now there are some, okay, knight c4 is played, so there are some ideas of going even knight a5 and maybe even trade this knight for this bishop in some lines. So after bishop b6 plays a4, and after a5 he kind of damages the structure, but at the same time he makes, you know, black undouble those pawns on c file and immediately plays d4, because now what happens is by playing knight b6 he takes b6. So there is potential weakness on d6, potential weakness on b6. So, you know, in potential endgame, white will have more targets on queen side, because this pawn structure is generally considered quite bad. So queen c7, rook a3. So that's very important. So that's why I kind of like to analyze top level games, because look, I don't think rook a3 will come to my mind in the following position. I would probably consider moves like, I don't even know, I might consider b3 or something. So computer says c4 is the best move. I might consider knight h4, you know, trying to get this. I don't think my b3 move is actually any good. Okay, it's actually good, but alright, b3 would come to my mind with the idea of bishop b2, but Magnus plays a rook a3. So, of course, the idea of rook a3 is, you know, you can potentially bring this rook to g3. And you know what, as I'm looking through these games, like, that's why he was probably at his peak at that point, because look, 2863, I think around that time he was considered one of the highest. I think around that time he was, maybe it was a bit later, I'm not even sure. You can write in the comment section when was Magnus's highest point, but yeah, rook a3 just seems like a very strong move. So knight f8 is played, takes, knight h4, knight can potentially jump to f4, and of course the idea right now is probably to bring rook to g3. Rook e8, queen h5, f6, knight f5, bishop e6, and now rook comes to g3 after all, threatening to take on g7. So knight goes to g6, blocking the rook on g file, h4. And so now Magnus starts pressing black pieces, because now, you know, queen might go back at some point and basically play h5. Takes, knight f4, bishop f4, takes, rook c3. Still, you know, even though we got the rook from g file, still, you know, keeping a lot of pressure on c6. Yeah, there is potential problems with this f5, but I think f4, c6 are very weak, and they're weaker than f5 pawn here. Rook e6, rook b8, rook c4, and now keeping an eye on this queen d7, king h2, rook f8, rook c e4. Now threatening some kind of rook e7, then maybe queen g4, and just try to checkmate black skin. Queen e2, basically triple all the heavy pieces on e-file. b3 takes, rook b4, rook e7, this takes, f3, g3, h5, and that was the final mistake of the game, and that was the blunder, because after queen d2, computer still thinks that black can hold the game. So, and h5, you know, under constant pressure, Vishy final blunders, because after queen b7, it turns out that black have no defense from this. And actually, it's quite interesting that, you know, I'm not sure how much time Vishy had at that point, but, you know, it just... Alright, it was tough to defend this position, and yeah, h5 resulted in, yeah, a very unfortunate, yeah, queen d2, queen f3, queen c2, this, and somehow, you know, Magnus would have needed to demonstrate good technique here, but it's still, you know, holdable for black pieces. But after h5, queen b7, unfortunately, Vishy loses the game. So in the third game, Vishy was playing against Magnus and was looking forward to take revenge. And guys, before I say anything, a year earlier in the match in Chennai, Vishy hasn't won a single game in that match. So Magnus won 6.5 to 3.5. I think he scored 3 wins, and Vishy didn't win any single game. So Vishy is playing with white pieces. That's game number 3 of 2014 World Chess Championship match. And we have very interesting Queen's Gambit declined system and early c5. So c5, usually what happens here, white are just trying to take space advantage on queen side. c6, bishop d3. So, and that's what happens. And you know, usually like now Magnus traded this off the board, and I remember actually looking, because I remember most of the games I'm showing you. I don't remember the Berlin game I showed you, which Magnus won, but I definitely remember this game, because that's where I got into chess, and I definitely now remember this b5 and then c6 move by Vishy. Yeah, because I was actually analyzing it. So now queen c8, good move, because now c takes e7, queen c3, and black are actually winning. So c7, basically making sure this pawn is stable on c7. It's protected by bishop, knight jumps to b5. And this position is absolutely insane. a4, rook c1. So you might say, what the hell is going on? Like, what is knight g5? The idea is, let's say bishop g5, takes, there is knight d6, and pawn is being promoted. So knight df6, takes, f3, rook a5, takes, absolute chaos on the board. And you would actually, you know, assume that, alright, chaos might be actually beneficial to Magnus. He's younger, he calculates faster, he was stronger at that time, but Vishy demonstrates great resilience in this position and just gives Magnus no chances. Queen b6, queen d7, now castles, rook c6, now rook a1, bishop a5, queen a6, this, and now the problem is this pin is just too powerful, and Magnus slowly collapses. And after rook c1, Vishy wins the first game in 2 matches, and the score is now tied, and it won't change until game number 6. And guys, game number 6, it's actually a historical game, because it was super dramatic. You will see why, but it's mind-blowing. Alright, let's get into it. Stay tuned. So Magnus was playing with white pieces, so we got Sicilian defense on the board. We'll get closer to the critical position. So we got to the endgame very early, so nothing interesting was happening until this point. Again, Magnus brings his rook early to the king side, bishop d3, bishop b3. He has 2 bishops, he has some advantage, but what happens is on move 26, so bishop d1, this, king d2, Magnus blunders. And I want you to find the best and the winning move for... It's not technically a winning move, but you know, probably Vishy would have won this game if he would have found this move. So I would turn the board around and try to find the best move here. So I remember solving this tactic because, you know, I was looking at the magazine and no, it was like, alright, try to solve it, why king d2 is a bad move. And, you know, later when I was studying this match, I kind of, you know, remembered this. So the move to make here is to play knight e5. It looks like this pawn is protected, but the idea is, alright, what happens after rook j8? Because now if rook j8, rook e5 and you're down a piece, there is knight c4. And what happens after king d3? Because this has been attacked, we can't take obviously because rook h8 will happen, right? But we have this intermezzo check on b2, and then after king d2, let's say, or king e2, there is rook g8, let's say rook h6, rook g2, and black are a pawn up, and they found themselves in a completely favorable spot. Let's say rook h7, trying to pin, bishop b5, king f3, rook g1, rook f7, now king a6, and, you know, it's just a bad position for white pieces here. So king d2, but what happened was, I don't know how it could result, how the match could have ended if Vishy could have found 95. It would have been turned around immediately. You know, it is just absolutely insane. We would never know what could have happened because, alright, Magnus could lose, and then, you know, he would have been in a very tough mental spot and probably, you know, could have even lost the match. So a4, and, you know, many, you know, players after the match were like, oh man, like, you know, usually I think as part of set, like, you know, blunders are not that unusual in the World Championship match, but the return favor not using this blunder is very, very unusual. Vishy plays a4, he didn't use this chance, and now Magnus plays king e2, and now knight e5 no longer works because there's no check on c4, and this is just a free piece on e5. f3, and Magnus was slowly squeezing everything out of Vishy. And once again, you know, this position doesn't look that, you know, good, but in reality, it's just losing, because now the point is, if king c6, rook h6, bishop h6, rook h6, checkmate. If king goes somewhere to c8, of course, rook h6, rook h8, checkmate is coming. If king a6, I mean, it is over anyways, bishop c5, pinning thus. And it's a win for Magnus, you know, absolute heartbreak for Viswanathan, who could have won this game, and we would have never known what could have happened in this match if Vishy won this game number 6. And what's interesting, guys, number 6, you know, in 2023, or was it 2022? When, or was it 2021? When Magnus played Nepo, and in that game, 8-hour game, or 7 6-hour game, you know, Magnus outplayed Nepo and then won the game because Nepo just collapsed. And this is what happened in this match, but, you know, there were all draws until game number 11. So at this point, the score is 5.5 to 4.5. And, you know, Magnus just needs to hold last 2 games, and this would result in a winning the World Chess Championship match. And once again, alright, here Magnus of course goes for Berlin, because, you know, he would be happy with a draw because he just gotta do something. And Vishy, so it's game number 11, guys, so they had 12 games each match, so it's very interesting because probably, you know, drawing this game would benefit kind of, I mean, it would benefit Magnus more than Vishy, but Vishy is playing with black pieces, so he doesn't want to lose. So Berlin is a, you know, very solid choice, and then you have white pieces in the last game. But alright, takes, and we get the Berlin endgame on the board. And alright, probably the game would result in a draw. Bishop e2. Doesn't really matter here. Knight d5, c4, king h2, a4, just locking the position down. Knight d2, knight d4, knight f6, b5, bishop c3, takes, king c6, king f3. So Magnus brings his king to the center, now rook b4. So Vishy decides to go all in, he decides to sacrifice the b4, sacrifice in exchange. Knight h5, and it might look, you know, dangerous at some point, but Magnus was playing absolutely brilliant. So, and at this point he's got his advantage. So I'm not sure what could have been different. So the computer says a takes b4 would have been a better option, and now if rook goes to a1, there is some bishop just, I mean, very complicated to understand why this is better than what was played in the game, but computer just thinks it was equal. But here Magnus was slowly outplaying Vishy, takes, rook c7, takes, and basically the idea is that after king c7 there is rook c1, and one of the bishop will be lost on c file. King c6, knight b5, takes, e6, king d3, king comes back, h5, and after a3, king c3, Vishy Anand shook Magnus's hands, resigning match. And Magnus Carlsen defended his title in 2014 World Chess Championship match. So here, unfortunately for Vishy, he has nothing to do. If bishop b4, king b3 takes, there is c7, queen is being promoted. And if b2, just king b3, or what can happen is just simple g6. Bishop f6, king b3, king c6, and now g7 or e7. Anything just wins. And actually, wait, you gotta be very careful here, because there is b1 check. So first, you know, probably e7 after bishop e7, g7, and now promote. So king is too far, and this pawn is being promoted. So yeah, this is how Magnus defended his title, won the championship match, and in 2016 he had a very interesting opponent, and that was a very interesting match. But I'll talk about it in the next episode. I mean, we're getting very close. This World Chess Championship match happened 10 years ago, exactly when I started playing chess. I remember reading the magazine, the first chess magazine I've had, about this match. So, you know, I have some good memories, and I remembered a few games from this match. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed. I know for some of you it's a bit boring. I hope it's not. I'll see you in the next episodes and next videos. Bye bye.